Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Misogynist in You. I'm your host, T-Mac, and this has been another big week for bhop maps coming out, so start up your Homedics Foot Bath Salon Pro, also not technically a sponsor, and get comfortable with a delicious Whopper by paying the King's price, because at Burger King, every Wednesday is Whopper Wednesday, and on Mythical Gaming you can play all the new maps all the time. That's Mythical Gaming. Link in the description. Okay, so there's only one map to get an update this week, which was bhop_hoop-de-hoop, created by Milkman, got milk, and the update made the invisible walls by the rings visible, so now you can see what the hell you're doing. It also made the file size smaller, which is also pretty great, though that doesn't have anything to do with my review, but I'd figured I'd mention it anyways, and all the changes are positive all the way around, and I suggest you play the map just like I did last time. So let's move on into the new maps that came out this week, even though this one technically came out 6 months ago on CSS. bhop_strafe_old times is a map that was created by Creator. So texture-wise, the map jumps around a bit, none of which really works too well for me. I didn't like the choice to make see-through blocks, mainly because all that you can see through the block is the standard old-style grass textures obstructed by a brown pole. I like the water texture, but the dark brown crates don't really go too well with the bright blue water. The indoor colorful blues and greens were okay. So a big issue for me was how dark the map felt, despite it not really affecting the gameplay, but it didn't feel like it should have been a dark map, if that makes sense. It probably had something to do with the fact that the skybox was so bright, and then the rest of the map just seemed so dark in comparison, but the lighting didn't make sense to me. This map kind of felt like there were a lot of ideas going for the map, but instead of fleshing them out individually, they were just all kind of amalgamated into one. It almost felt rushed. As for the gameplay, this is a pretty simple short 15-second-ish strafe map with decent block layout and fairly simple block types, though the angled crates were a nice addition, and the elevated blocks towards the end were also pretty good. All in all, the map left me wanting more. I think with more time and effort put into the ideas and the making of the map, this one could have been a lot better. So I'm going to end up giving this one a 5 out of 11. Nice try, creator, but it's time for the next map. So bhop_chaser is a strafe map created by Shackler. The textures start off with several shades of gray and some white and pink stripes along the walls and blocks. Then you come up to a black and pink neon tube which opens up into a dark gray alcove with an intricately awesome moonlit skybox. So obviously I enjoyed the way the map looks. It looks great, but did I enjoy the way the map played out? Well, to put it simply, yes, I fucking did. The paths are winding and the obstacles are varied and well dispersed. The path layouts are great, there's boost pads and tons of different optimizations, and even small changes can result in drastically different routes. This map was incredibly well made, though a touch on the shorter side, taking me a little under 23 seconds to beat. That said, there are no real flaws with this map, and it's getting a 10. Very good job to Shackler. If you haven't played this map, then I suggest you check it out, because it's certainly worth your time. So, onwards to the third map to come out this week, which was bhop_icecapades, created by Ashton, and is a winter-themed map that is made to make you go fast. The textures are fairly simple, but the map is bright, and everything works well together. As for the gameplay, it starts out with a surf ramp and gives you a lot of speed to fly through the map with. The map gives you plenty of room to strafe to your heart's content, the blocks are massive and the block layout is good, and whenever you start out with a massive surf, there's always going to be plenty of room for route optimizations. So, there's also an additional surf drop down towards the end, as well as an ice lake with cracked holes, which diversifies the layout from being square blocks all the way through. The map doesn't really go out of its way to make itself too unique, but it was still fun and felt like it was a good length for a strafe map, and it took me around 34 seconds. So, good job to Ashton. I'm going to go ahead and give this one an 8 out of 11. And speaking of maps that I rate out of 11, bhop_bigdink_speedrun was created by Felician with 2 stars at the end. This is a map with a very unique aesthetic. It feels like 2 dimensions collided with one another. One being a deserted city where Rolling Rock, of all things, is popular enough to get a massive wall of ad space, and another being a hilly meadow. So the aesthetic is cool, and the skybox is also pretty good. Plus, there's snow. So getting into the gameplay, the map is quite versatile in that there are 2 different ways to tackle the map, going up through the middle or down around the side. And from testing the map both ways, I can tell you right now that both are viable, taking just under 16 seconds each. And the layout of the map is really good as well, and the block structure is innovative and unique. That said, the map does have the issue of having these invisible cube things that, even though they are sort of defined by a green outline, it's still very easy not to realize when you're about to plow right into one. So if it were easier to distinguish these, then I think the map would have probably been better. Not to say that the map isn't good, because it certainly is, even though it may be fairly short. So good job to Felician. I'm going to go ahead and give this one an 8 out of 11, and then move along to number 5. bhop_Tormen is a map created by Snooper, which, much like Rigos, which was Snooper's first map, the textures on this one have a very simple but appealing nature to them. The different grayish browns and greens and whites all go very well together and give the map an inviting warmth that makes you want to hop right into the action. So hopping right into the action, this map is certainly action-packed. The map starts off with a drop down into a speed booster with simple blocks before moving into some more challenging and intricate obstacles. The map is very fun and the layout is good and fairly accessible for newer players by including easier routes that take a bit longer on some of the more challenging obstacles. I only had a couple of minor gripes with the map, one of which being that the tellies aren't defined at all. It's kind of a bit strange just jumping right through a wall, and that on stage 3, the speed booster before the ramp doesn't really have an arrow like the other spots, so that'll catch you off guard if you aren't expecting it. Overall, though, the map is very fun, especially with how high the skill ceiling is set on such a short strafe map. There's also some insane skips on the map, allowing for some very fast runs, though the big skip cuts out the best parts of the map, which kinda makes it an issue for me. Also, I'd like to mention that Saspatoon hit a sub 10-second run with the skip, and that's been uploaded on Jidus' channel, so props to him, and check that out if you're interested. Also, Jidus has been uploading a bunch of runs on the most recent maps to come out this week, so you might want to head over there after this video is done and check that out. The link will, of course, be in the description as always. So getting back into the map, it was good. Good job to Snooper. It gets an 8 out of 11, and then we move to the next. bhop_Izanma is a map created by MHG42, and as far as I'm aware, this is his first map. The textures are all fairly good, and the white, blue, and gray color scheme is a nice constant throughout the map. Getting into the gameplay, the map is quite interesting as it starts out with a castle-like walls and winding paths before going into a tunnel and then coming out and going up a climby structure in the sky. The map's layout is diverse and the block placement and block types are pretty fun. Much like the previous map, this map also has a big skip, though I have to assume this one is intentional as there are blocks outside of the map to aid in hitting the skip. You'll do this by using the picture frames at the start of the map to surf up to the wall, and then getting triggered at the right part of the tunnel will allow you to skip the entire first and the majority of the second stage. This route took me roughly 40 seconds to beat the map, and it really takes away a fair amount of the map, especially from the first stage. Though the second stage doesn't really have too much uniquity, the first stage is a lot more interesting and has a lot of parts that won't likely end up being explored because of the skip, which is very easy to hit and takes little to no skill whatsoever. So the map is still fun and respectable, especially for someone's first map ever, so very good job goes out to MHG42. Your map has earned an 8 out of 11. bhop_Twilight_Tile was the next map to come out this week, and it was also by a first-time mapper called Violet_CSGO. The map is obviously going to be tile-themed in that everything from the floors to the skybox are made up of some sort of tile. The visual aesthetic of the map is really great, and I love the bright colors used, as well as the starry space skybox behind glass tiles and the colored lighting effects that complement the map's aesthetic really nicely. The layout allows for some different routes to be taken, though the gameplay of the map does suffer a bit in the sense that all the blocks are flat squares and there's no elevation changes or winding paths other than the 90-degree turns at each checkpoint, and the only real obstacles involve going around or between walls. The map does diversify the way that the walls are laid out and the required methods for avoiding these walls, which is a good thing as well. So considering that this is Violet's first map, it's still pretty darn good in my opinion, so good job to Violet. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a light 7 out of 11, and it took me a little over 26 seconds to beat. And that will be about all that I have to say about this one. So that brings us to map number 8, which was --Zero's map, bhop_LT_map, and it was broken as fuck and only showed like a billion error messages. So fix that shit, then I'll review it, which leads us to the final map of the week, which was bhop_4strafe 2, which was Godzilla's sequel to bhop_4strafe. This map has a sandy outdoor man-made canyon-type theme, complete with hazy fog and a really nice sunset skybox. The haziness of the fog is fairly light, but it's still noticeable, which gives the map a really unique aesthetic that works pretty well and looks quite nice despite some of the simplicities in the textures of the map. Hopping into the gameplay, this is a moderately long strafe map with a really great layout and some challenging but fun obstacles like the abstract drop-down spiral, which isn't really a spiral, but it's still pretty cool. The different elevations in the blocks is really great, and the almost layered levels of blocks mixed with the aesthetic atmosphere really adds a memorable funness that makes me want to go back and revisit this map sometime soon. As for flaws in the map, there really weren't too many that I was able to find, though I'm not really sure what the rainbow mini tunnel thing was supposed to do on the first stage. At first I thought it was supposed to go through it, but there's no benefit or need to, as it's not blocked off going around it. That's not really an issue though, that's more just an observation. Also, apparently there's an issue where when someone connects to the server, the map will fade to black momentarily, and this has either been patched or it just didn't affect me. Either way, this is a damn good map, and if you are getting that issue, then you might want to just play it on LAN, because this one took me 1 minute and 11 seconds, and it's definitely worth a solid 10 out of 11. Great job once again goes to Godzilla, and that is all the maps that came out this week, so make sure to like if you like, comment, and subscribe, share this video wherever you think people might be interested, and make sure to check out Mythical Gaming's channel, where they just recently released a few bhop, surf, and frag compilations. Also, like I said before, Jidus has some pretty cool runs on his channel, so check that out as well, and if you want more of me, then check out my Twitter at TMacDagoon, and my gaming/talk about shit for 15 to 20 minutes channel, TMax Dungeon Games, where I should probably upload something soon and maybe make the channel name a little more accessible. But fuck that, and if you wanna fuck me, then pay me directly into my PayPal, link in the description for literally everything in the whole fucking universe. Also, last call to submit your runs for the first bhop talk show, so get that shit in soon. And that's all the time that I have for this week's show, so once again, thank you guys for listening, and I'm T-Mac. And I'm still ripping off closers.